Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this brief ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We're going to start off with a surface wind animation here, and we're watching a few tropical systems like the one that's here off the Baja that's going to be moving out into the East Pacific. We had named yesterday Mindy, right here, a tropical storm which came across parts of Florida, moved into parts of Georgia, and is now exiting here off the South Carolina coast. And Larry, very powerful hurricane, is moving to the north and is heading toward Newfoundland as it just missed Bermuda to the east. While that's all going on, we do have this large ridge that's parked here over the Great Basin, and you can still see the northwest winds that are coming out of the Great Lakes states through parts of the Midwest and Ohio Valley all the way down to almost to the south here, bringing in some cooler weather. Well, the heat that is here is coming this way. I'll show you that in a few moments. But before I get away from this map, let me take you over to the Pacific very quickly, because I'm going to be watching this typhoon right here very carefully. And the reason why is the latest updates for that typhoon are to take it toward Taiwan, as you see here, and then eventually by midweek next week over toward Japan. And why we think a lot about these systems is because what's left of these typhoons can often get pulled into the mid-latitudes, into the jet stream pattern that's across the North Pacific, and really amplify the trough ridge pattern that's upstream of North America. And that can have a major impact on North American weather. So we better start with a discussion here about what that pattern's going to do. And to do that, I'm going to go straight to the European model. We're going to look here at the 12Z run, and we're going to put these pieces together because our large ridge that is here now, while the deeper trough is keeping things cool over the east, well, as we play this forward through Friday, now into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, that opens up. You then see this trough coming out of parts of British Columbia and into Alberta that's going to skirt along the northern border of the United States with Canada and produces a low that comes through parts of Ontario and Quebec. And it's going to drag a front through the Corn Belt here midweek next week, both Tuesday into Wednesday. But after that, what I want you to see is the development of the persistent troughing action here on very strong jet stream level winds that are coming across the northern Pacific. So by next Wednesday, getting into next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you can see that as we stretch this out to a 10-day forecast, very long waves switching that pattern in the Pacific, including the EPO, the PNA, and now we're favoring troughing along the west coast of North America with ridging here over the east. So we're completely kind of reversing the pattern we have right now to look something like this as we move forward. Now, anytime we start to see deeper troughs like this, and we have the concern that maybe a tropical system could amplify this trough with time, I'm talking about that typhoon I discussed a few moments ago, we just begin to think about what is the risk of a frost coming out of the Canadian prairie or back into Montana or even North and South Dakota. So let's talk about that. And I'm going to show you some new stuff I'm going to be releasing to all of you very soon. The map or the figure you're looking at here is looking at growing degree day units accumulated for Glasgow. So we're here in Montana. And we're also seeing on this map or this graphic what the historical frost dates are. So these would be the spring frost dates and these would be the fall frost dates. Now, we know how hot of a summer Montana had. So this year's GDU accumulation is way up here. We're almost to 3,000 GDUs being accumulated since the beginning of the year. But as you notice, historically, this is the time of year where we begin to approach our risk of having our first frost event, with the average first frost date being somewhere at the end of September. Now, we're not worried about this in the next 7 days, but day 10 through day 20 in the forecast, I think that we could see, given the shift in the jet stream pattern, which I just showed you here, that this could start to be something that we need to be discussing. So I'm talking here about the end of the month of September, which would be normal for this time of year. So what are we watching first? Well, in the near term, it's not about frost, it's about the heat. So Thursday getting into Friday, there's tomorrow's temperatures because I record these on Thursday evening. Look at the heat we have spreading here into the high plains and central plains of the United States. The Northwest, we're getting a break finally. And the cooler air that you see over here on the East Coast, it's going to push out. Look at this Saturday, getting into Sunday. We'll have a weak front parked almost on I-80 here, bringing in some precip. But the southern plains and central plains, we stay hot. There's Monday, getting into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Now, beyond that, look at this next map here. This is showing you the day 5 through 10 outlook. And what we start to see here is some cooler conditions here while the ridging builds over to the east. So much above average temperatures in this section of the United States. But by day 10 through 15, now we start to see the effect of that. So what I'll be concerned about as we get out there to day 10 through 15 and then to finish out the month of September is, does this trough pattern that's coming into the Pacific Northwest in the western part of the Canada here possibly get amplified by a tropical system coming out of the West Pacific? And do we start to see risk of frost in this area? Because in the plains, getting through the Great Lakes states and over the East Coast, we're going to be seeing much above average temperatures. Now let's go back there and talk about the near-term tropical cyclone threat. So Mindy's moving out, Larry's moving north, and right now we've got a 60% chance on a disturbance here coming off of the west coast of Africa. I'll give you more update about that one on Monday when we've seen it evolve. What I want to talk about is right here. National Hurricane Center is giving this a 30% chance of developing over the next 5 days, and they've currently got it pegged along with the European model to come in here into the Texas coast. Now we need to be aware of these things moving farther to the east, because if they did, I'm not saying it will, but if it did, it would run the risk of developing much more quickly. So what are we seeing in terms of total accumulated precip? Well, I just left the European model out here on a 10-day forecast. Watch it get there. Ready? So as we play forward through Friday, Saturday, getting into Sunday, we're starting to see that tropical moisture advect to the north or move to the north. We've got scattered storms here on Friday, which are actually going to run the risk of starting potentially more fires. And throughout the weekend on Sunday, the first low moves here and drags a front right across I-80, like I said. Now, going from Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, there's a second low that pulls a front right through the Corn Belt. And now we see by Tuesday into Wednesday, the moisture getting pulled north here toward the Texas coastline. Now at that particular point, how much are we talking about? Well, the models are already keying in on about a week from now, seeing better than 6 to 10, maybe 12 inches of rain. Now that's a lot of rain, and the flooding threat from this will be very high. And what I want to tell you is we got to watch the evolution of this forecast through the weekend into early next week. Because as I just let this continue all the way out there, there's not a whole lot moving this away from that area. The jet stream is too far to the north, and as those troughs dig in, look at the precip increase here for the Pacific Northwest. But as those troughs dig in, we get broad ridging here and weaker flow over this area to move that risk of flooding out. Okay? So that's the number one thing that I'm watching right now. To come back to the near term, though, we still have this large ridge that's in place that has to move in the first place. And you can see as I kind of rock back and forth, the smoke moving over that today. We can also see the circulation from Mindy, and there is Larry. Now, we do have fire threat in the west. In fact, the latest update here on Thursday evening from the National Weather Service, widespread red flag warnings, and we have the heat advisories and the excessive heat watches south. But this area here, throughout the next 24 hours or so, is going to be seeing a lot of thunderstorm activity. And you can see that. Let me take you back here. Look at the storms that come out Friday morning, afternoon, and evening. A lot of scattered storms in this area that could be dry, which means the moisture doesn't get to the ground, but the lightning does. So we're going to watch that carefully, moving through parts of Oregon, the Columbia Basin, out of Idaho, and then eventually here into Montana. Now that becomes the second system we're going to watch. The first one by Saturday afternoon is here, and then it eventually leaves its front there by Saturday evening and here by Sunday evening. And then following it, as we discussed, is the next system. So if we put together the next 7 days again, that first low gets over here, and there's the front bringing in the showers on Sunday. The second one pulls in like this, and it drags a front through, increasing the rainfall chances here Tuesday into Wednesday. And while we're watching that, we're also going to keep a close eye on this. Now, by day 10, that's when the deeper trough begins to dig in, and the flow comes around it just like this. So when we look out there into the week 2 time period, what we end up getting is wetter conditions in the Pacific Northwest, the potential for low pressure system development here, but drier to the south and through this area. That's the latest update on the week 2 pattern. Now from here, I just want to stretch this out quickly into a long range forecast, and we're going to hit the major highlights by looking at this map, our ocean temperature map. Now we know we're watching this developing La Nina, and those trade winds lately have started to increase, and the Southern Oscillation Index has indicated as such. The MJO prefers this area, phases 4, 5, and 6, and doesn't show really any major signals of coming out into the Pacific Ocean. Therefore, with the warmer water to the north, we do expect an active jet stream pattern here, and also down here, which I'll talk more about in our South American video, which I'm going to produce next. And the net effect of all of this is to give us this long-range outlook. This is mid-September to mid-October. And you continue to see a broad sector here in the midsection of the U.S. getting through the Corn Belt, the Northern Plains, and into parts of Ontario, the Great Lakes, and Quebec looking wetter. Same thing for the Pacific Northwest. But what this pattern isn't, is it's not one where we have a big high pressure cell here and a big high pressure cell there, where the flow comes around like this and like that and parks a big front here. That's what happened in 2018, which brought in all that flooding. I'm not seeing that, but through the early harvest time period, it does appear that we have better chances of seeing slightly above normal precipitation. That's the main takeaway, and as you've known from my last 3 videos, that's been a consistent takeaway from this. But we do have some new data to present today, and we'll finish up with the long-range outlook from the NMME. This is the forecast for October, November, December. Wetter in the Pacific Northwest, drier here. That's almost exactly what the European model suggested for that same time period. And overall, during that same time period, mild conditions compared to what we normally get in fall. When the cooler weather is likely to arrive, it appears to be later in the season. And speaking of later in the season, let's just go look at it. This is the December, January, February precipitation forecast. And we see that La Nina look, right? Wetter in the northwest, active Ohio River Valley storm track, drier along the southeast, the south, and over into Southern California. That is almost exactly what the European model projected for the same time period. So I'll keep analyzing it, watch it for you over the next few days, and give you another video on Monday, okay? Appreciate your attention. Have a good rest of your week and weekend, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks.